In section 8, we're going to look at triangles and coordinate proofs. So the first part is just being able to position and label triangles for use in coordinate proofs. And then in the second part, we'll look at actually writing a coordinate proof. So what is a coordinate proof? It uses figures in the coordinate plane and algebra to prove geometric concepts. So there are a few steps that we're going to look at in order to place our triangles and look at coordinate proofs. The first 3 steps are just kind of helping you position the triangle to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. So step 1, use the origin as a vertex or center of the triangle. A good rule of thumb using the origin, the reason that we want to use that point as much as possible, is its location is at 0, 0. 0 is our friend. It's going to make it a lot easier to deal with some algebra that involves the number 0 in it. Likewise, in step 2, it says place at least one side of the triangle on an axis. So for example, if I want to position some triangle on an axis like this, they're really saying plot a point somewhere on here or up here. I'm not really going to use the bottom axis or the one on the left. I'll explain why in just a minute. But the reason that they want us to pick a point on either one of these axes is I can label this one as something like a comma 0, and I could label this one up here like 0 comma b, meaning 0 is involved again. Step 3 tells us to keep the triangle within the first quadrant if possible. Reason that we like the first quadrant, remember quadrants go 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm dealing with the first quadrant, my points are going to be positive. Sometimes we'll go into the second quadrant, so you may have a negative then a positive, but we will never use quadrants 3 and 4. We'll never deal with those. And then step 4, use coordinates that make computations as simple as possible. We'll deal with that once we get into an actual coordinate proof. So to start, we are just going to position and label a triangle on a coordinate plane. So position and label right triangle, MNP, on the coordinate plane so that leg MN is A units long and leg NP is B units long. Thinking back to our steps, we're going to try and use the first quadrant as much as possible, the origin, and the axes. So looking at what type of triangle we have, it's a right triangle. I might make a right triangle that looks something like this. Notice I used the first quadrant, I used the origin, and I used the axes. So now I'm going to actually try and come up with where are my points located. I have to label it as well on this. So I have a triangle MNP on the coordinate plane, and I have a leg MN, and I have a leg NP. Well, since I know that N is part of both legs, N has to be my right angle. M can go up here if it wants, or down at the bottom. And wherever you put M, then P goes in the other spot. Now I need to come up with the actual coordinates. We know N is at 0, 0. We placed it at the origin. It tells us that leg MN is A units long, and NP is B units long. So if I think of P, it looks like I went over B units, but didn't go up any. So we would say that that's B comma 0. For M, looks like we went up A units, didn't go over any, so our coordinates would be 0 comma A. This entire thing represents your answer. You positioned and labeled the triangle on a coordinate plane. Let's try one more. Position and label isosceles triangle JKL on the coordinate plane so that its base JL is A units long, vertex K is on the y-axis, and the height of the triangle is B units. So on this one, I may say, let's try and utilize the first 2 quadrants. We have an isosceles triangle. I'm going to draw an isosceles triangle out of here. Isosceles meaning I have 2 sides congruent. And it also tells me now that I have a base JL, so that means J and L have to go down here. And then point K then has to go up at the top. All right, and it tells me that my entire base is A units long. Well, if I think of A units long, that means to go over L, that's half of A. So we're going to say that this is A divided by 2, comma 0. And then for J, if I went half over to L, then I have to go the other half, but I went left, so we're going to say that this is negative A divided by 2, comma 0. Told me put vertex K on the y-axis. Well, I did that. That's good. And the height of the triangle is B units, meaning I went up B. I didn't go over any, so 0, comma B. And there's your position of your triangle.